somebody contacted me through my website, and he said, I want to buy some Ferraris. Would like to restore some Ferraris. And he said, what do you think of these guys in Latvia? And I was like, well, I saw their postings. There was a shop, a restoration shop in Latvia that was posting a restoration of a 250 GTE on Ferrari Chat. And they would just post this progress of this car. And they were trying to show that they were doing it. And it was like this whole series. I didn't follow every one of them, but I didn't know about it. And I looked at the pictures and I knew about them. So this new guy emails me and he says, well, I just talked to them and they said that they could restore a car at that time. This is about 5 years ago. They said they could restore a car for around 200,000 euros. I was like, okay. To give you some perspective, in the States, and this price changes because of supply chain and inflation and who knows, but some shops in the States, Ferrari restoration shops, because everybody can. There are a lot of shops that restore Ferraris, but you can restore a Ferrari and then you could take it to a Ferrari show and it could be a little wrong finishes, wrong paint, wrong plating. But the big Ferrari shops, which there's a handful, like 5 shops in the country. First off, they're probably 2-3 year waiting lists, and in order for you to even be allowed in, it's probably $400 to $500,000 to do a restoration, nut and bolt restoration, and probably more. And if you want to go to Pebble, which is not even just, everybody says, oh, Pebble Beach restoration. No, real Pebble Beach. Everybody says, oh, I do Pebble. Well, have you actually taken a car to Pebble Beach? Because a Pebble Beach car is actually $1 million restoration. It's not a $500,000 restoration. It's not for. So we're not even talking about Pebble Beach restoration. We're talking about a Ferrari shop that will do it is probably at least $400,000, if not more. So they're asking they could do it for almost half, or at least 60% of what a normal. So I said, well, here's the deal. Pictures don't tell you anything. You can make anything look great in pictures. I said the only way to know is to go and see their work in process and get an idea of what they do. He goes, well, would you like to go to Latvia? I'm always up for an adventure. I travel. I'll go anywhere. So I said, I guess I'm going to Latvia. So flew out there, looked at the shop, met the guys. Sometimes you meet some people and you just get a good feeling from them. They're honest. They're not. I still believe that you meet somebody in person and you get a feel for what kind of shop they are. And on top of it, are they legitimate? Do they look like they're gonna? Are they a fly by night company? A few things that I saw, which was okay. They still do old style body work. They use some lead work and they do all this stuff. But yet they're still on. They still work on the Euro, so they're still buying all their materials. They're still using Sikkens paint, or they're using all the European suppliers. They're still buying their parts from Italy and Germany and wherever else they come from. But it was the labor rate that was so cheap. So my impression and what I told my customers, like, okay, well, they're pretty good. The GT looked okay, but they got it 90% there or 85% there. Some of the finishes weren't right, or some of the way the interior was done right. But those are just things that need like process. You need to go through with them and show them how to stitch this, or what to be plated and what to be done. And he said, well, would you be interested in consulting on this restoration? I said, all right. So we worked out a deal for consulting where I would go out and see things in process and then also be available to them, on a consulting basis, whether it's phone calls or pictures or all this other stuff. So he had 2 cars they had he had 1 car they had in the UK, and he said, let's send that one over there to start. So started that one. I followed that through. He'd sent a second one. I found him because a lot of these old Ferraris are available in the States. Projects, we all know the guy who sells those forlorn Ferraris. But we bought one, and I did some mechanical work, did some engine work on it, and then sent the whole car out there, and they did that one. They did those 2 cars. I went out, drove both of them. Pretty good job. I mean, not bad. We weren't trying to go and make concours cars, but we were making them where they were good, reliable driving cars, and they were. And they shifted fine. They rebuilt the transmission. I did one of the engines on the 250, but the 330, they did the engine, they did the brakes, and everything worked. So the 3rd car, he said, I want to do what I've always wanted, which was a 250 PF coupe. We've always loved one. And so I said, okay, I found one. I knew of one that was in Detroit. We can buy that one. That one's been apart for 20 some odd years, and it needs to be put back together. We can buy it right, send it to Latvia and have them do it. If we did that in the States, we'd be upside down. I hate to say it, the math never adds up. You buy a car as cheap as you possibly can, and then you spend the $400,000, you're going to be upside down on a PF coupe. Or any car, you're going to be upside down. It's just a matter of like whether or not you hope that the value of them continue to go up. We actually were able to do this and send it to Latvia, and he was whole at the end of it. So that took a year, even during the pandemic. I mean, this happened in the middle of the pandemic, and luckily, I'd already been with them on the first two. So we had established a good relationship of how to deal with all this stuff. But then the PF Coupe kind of got a little bit more of a challenge because then we started doing Zoom meetings just like everybody else during the lockdown, and phone calls and emails and more of that stuff remotely. I couldn't go in the middle of the progress, like I would have wanted to, but basically the car then got shipped to me because he said, look, I want to take this to show. I want to get this to, an American show. Also showing at these places you can get provenance of the car if it does well. And that's what we're in the process of doing. I got it to me, and like I said, we got even 90%, 94%, but then the last few percentage is not the big stuff that you tear things apart. It's the little tweaking. It's to make sure that, this is correct, or the right sticker, or the right paint finishes, or sometimes they don't have, correct cadmium plating. So I had to redo some of the pieces because we have better platers here. We had certain, so when I got the car in person, the general bones of the restoration was done perfectly well. And I was just able to go and tweak it and get it to the way it was supposed to be. And the car has been really well received. They've done really well. The whole plan was to take it to Cavallino. So I had worked on it for a few months while I had it, and we took it to Cavallino. We got on the top lawn. Now the top lawn at Cavallino in Palm Beach is, we parked this PF Coupe. On one side of us was a 250 Cal Spider long wheelbase, and on the other side was a short wheelbase California Spider. So we were in some pretty heady company, and we kind of felt like this is pretty cool. We got this PF Coupe that was restored, and but we're like hanging out with billionaires up there. So it was a really great experience, and the car was well received. The unfortunate thing is we got 96.5 points. 97 points would have put us into platinum. Without getting into the nitty gritty, points were taken off for probably the wrong reasons, but no matter how I say it, it's going to sound like sour grapes. So I accept the fact that we missed the platinum by a half a point. The owners were ecstatic about the car. They really liked the car. They were proud to be at Cavallino. He said to me at the end of it, he says, we're going back because we're so close. I mean, how could we not just get that final platinum? I wish we could have gotten it this year, but that's the world of showing. But I'm really proud of the car. I'm proud of the work that these guys did. I really, they're kind of like the underdogs, and I was happy to be part of it. He's doing a fourth car right now. So, I mean, when you think about like how much he saved, even if he saved 20%, I mean, we're talking $500,000, $1 million that he saved. He spent a ton of money, but that's a pretty good discount. The other problem is Latvia. It's 2 borders away from the war zone. So the problem with that is, and they're fine, but I don't know if I could convince other people to say, hey, this is the best lot. Let's pipeline more cars over there. I could have established some kind of business relationship, but right now, things have changed. It now costs a lot more money to ship a container. It costs a lot more money to, of course, global inflation, supply chain issues, and, a little war that's happening on over there. It doesn't make it as easy to do it, but it's been a great exercise, and we succeeded, and it's been interesting, and we get some travel out of it. And now I know a place called Latvia that I would have never known, before. So kind of fun.
The Simple Lease from Premier Financial Services is the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You get all the benefits of a lease, like the tax preference as well as the low payments, plus the benefits of a traditional loan. You can build up equity, pay it off at any time, and along the way you'll know exactly where you stand with their easy to understand amortization table. Premier's amazing nationwide team is standing by and ready to help you own your dream car in a way that's easier and more affordable than you could ever imagine. Whether it's a vintage Porsche, a modern McLaren, or a multi-million-dollar car collection, Premier is here to help. They've been supporting VINwiki for the last 6 years, and we certainly love them for that, but even more so, we love them because they make it easier and more affordable than you could imagine to own your dream car.